times of the times move on without you. Indian society has always given a huge amount of importance and respect to education in the country. It is an undeniable part of our heritage and culture. In the year 2020, India brought out a policy that revolutionized its education system, and with that moved us into a new era of education reform that has opened up numerous avenues for not just us Indians, but even international students who might want a chance to study in one of our many prestigious institutions. We're of course talking about the new education policy, or the NEP 2020. Marks, percentage, GPAs. These have been the criteria to gauge the extent of a student's education. This blanket method, however, of putting numbers against a name, is an incomplete way of properly assessing the value of what a student has learned. A change was required. The National Council of Educational Research and Training, which is NCERT, selected Educational Testing Service, or ETS, the world's largest educational assessment organization, to support the setup of India's first national assessment regulator, Parakh, which is Performance Assessment Review and Analysis of Knowledge for Holistic Development. The aim of which is to provide a more holistic way with which students in the country are assessed during the most important years of their educational lives. Now, this revolutionary shift is what we are here to discuss today, as India Today, in association with ETS, presents to you ETS Transforming Education. To further understand more about Parakh, joining me today is Mr. Amit Sevak, CEO of ETS, the company tasked with being the catalyst for this reform that aims at radically changing for the better the way students in the country are assessed. Mr. Sevak has held leadership roles across the world, including at the University of Europe in Madrid, INTI International University and Colleges in Kuala Lumpur, and Unitec in Mexico City. He served in many non-profits, including Cambiar Education, City Bridge, and Education Design Lab. Thank you so much for joining us, Amit. Thank you for connecting with us and joining us right here in our studios. First of all, I want to begin by asking you, ETS has made rapid advancements in the India market. What are your longer-term plans for India, and what are some of the best practices that have been adopted globally that you'd like to introduce in the Indian market? How do you essentially see the Indian market from the point of view of taking things further from here on?
Well, thank you, Sneha, for having us on the show and for having me on the show. I'd like to, first of all, highlight just how exciting this moment is in India. India is a large and diverse country with a big potential for the future. And so in terms of your question around our long-term plans in India, the first thing I'd like to say is that they are indeed long-term. We're really committed to India because we believe in India's future. We believe in the opportunity of this economic growth, the opportunity to serve the country across the board. Our long-term plans include specific plans for K-12 education, higher education, and also workforce development. We believe that there's a huge opportunity for assessments as a way to help unleash potential, to help individuals better understand their skills, and also to help institutions, the government, and universities help use assessments to help guide their decision-making processes. So we're very excited about the potential here in India.
You know, the education sector essentially is a transforming one. In that sense, how do you see and what do you really see the future of assessments in that context? What are the emerging trends that you're looking at very closely?
We see assessments as playing a huge role in the future advances in education. You know, Sneha, education is one of those things that's so fundamental, so important to advancements in our economy and in our society. Yet, so much of what we think about in assessments are associated with testing, particularly summative or end-of-year testing. We'd like to say that as we move forward, wouldn't it be a great opportunity for us to move away from those kinds of assessments that are really more signals for other institutions or companies, and thinking about assessments where the student is at the center. So moving away from large-scale summative assessments to more interim assessments, formative assessments, assessments that are more focused on skills that are being developed and acquired over time. So our vision is that assessments are going to be fundamental, because assessments allow us to show progress in student outcomes. They allow individual parents and students to also see advances that they're making in their learning. We believe you can't have good quality education without good quality assessments. It's fundamental. And so as we look forward, we think that the data that assessments is going to be providing is going to help all the relevant stakeholders, and that's why we believe doubling down and making further investments in assessments is going to be so important.
So ETS introduced TOEFL Home Edition during the pandemic, and these became quite popular with test takers. First of all, just to tell us, for those who don't know, what exactly was this module?
Sure. So TOEFL Home Edition, we launched in India during the pandemic. It's a way to take our test online, and it allows individuals in the convenience of their own home to take a standardized test, something that hadn't been done before. So it's a more convenient way to take a test by taking it online.
You know, and this became popular obviously during the pandemic, but now that we're hoping that we've left the pandemic behind us pretty much, up till when, or for how many years do you see yourself continuing with TOEFL?
We're continuing with TOEFL in various forms now. So post-pandemic, our plan is to continue with TOEFL, both offered at test centers as well as offered online. So we're committed to it. We just really believe that after the pandemic, individuals are expecting flexibility from organizations to be able to get products and services physically at a location or to be able to do it online. So we want to stay with that flow. So we're 100% committed. We have great test security. We have a very innovative way to interact with the test. And we think people just want to have that flexibility to do things. You can buy goods and services. You can get bank information online. Why not take a test online?
Well,
so
absolutely.
It's a very disruptive and innovative way that we want to continue to deliver here in India.
You know, Parakh, in every which way you look at it, is a landmark step in the country. How do you really see ETS making a contribution in terms of the kind of work that you're going to do with NCERT?
We're very proud. We're very proud, Sneha, of the opportunity that the Ministry of Education has given us by being selected as the partner for NCERT's launch of Parakh. What is Parakh? Parakh is an important initiative that is going to set new norms, new guidelines for how assessments are going to be done across India. This is very important. India today has nearly 10 million teachers. We have here in India over 250 million students in schools. And so the vision of Parakh is to provide new norms and new guidelines that will allow us to be able to offer new types of assessments and really to provide a monitoring mechanism for the health of our educational system here in India. So Parakh's vision is really bold. It's a very innovative, very unique vision on a global scale as well. And we believe it's really important because we want to measure what matters. And education matters to all of us, so assessments and having good guidelines, good norms across the 36 states in India is going to allow us to really strengthen on a whole nationwide level assessment. So we think it's really important that Parakh is being launched, and we're very proud to be the technical partner for Parakh here in India.
What about the kind of synergies that you see between the national education policy and the kind of work that ETS has been doing?
The national education policy, when it was launched in 2020, made me very happy because I believe that India is really ripe for a significant evolution in how education is done. So what are some of the key principles around the NEP? A focus on accessibility, a focus on affordability, a focus on quality, on equity, and many other elements. So the vision at a broad level is something to really uplift the entire educational system. Particularly as it relates to ETS, we see 3 initiatives in the NEP that are happening right now in 2023 that we're very excited about. We see the Digital University initiative as very important to provide a diverse range of technologies to allow accessibility and more interactive learning experiences in India. We're also very excited about the Academic Bank of Credit, the ABC framework that's been laid out. This is another very important initiative that will allow for twinning programs, dual degrees, and a whole range of interoperability, meaning a student can start their education in one university and go to another. And of course, internationalization is another very, very important initiative of the NEP to encourage students to study abroad, as well as to bring more international students here in India. So those 3 initiatives that are currently active here in India for NEP are very, very critical, we believe, to the success. Digital universities, a big focus on ABC, a big focus on internationalization. What are the synergies with ETS? Well, ETS is the world's largest provider of educational assessments. All of these three initiatives, we believe, are going to be critically incorporating assessments, because any new initiative we do in education, whether it's at the governmental level, at the state level, at the school level, or even in the classroom, the way to measure if that innovation works is to have robust assessments that really, based on data, based on evidence, can demonstrate meaningful progress and skill development. So for us, the synergies are really, really strong, because as India is looking at bold moves in education, we want to be right by India's side by having the assessment tools enabled to really measure that we're making progress across education in the country.
Well, you did talk about test security, but we'll continue to talk about that and much more, and also the kind of advice that you want to give Indian students. But before that, it's time for a quick break. We're just going to pause for a brief moment. Stay tuned as we continue discussing the revolutionary steps our nation's assessment system might undergo with ETS at the helm after the break. Welcome back to our special show, ETS Transforming Education, in conversation with Mr. Amit Sevak, CEO of ETS. And we dive right back into what can only be described as a watershed moment in the way we as a nation assess students and what they really have learned. Now, GRE has seen a massive growth in the post-pandemic year. Even Indian B schools are accepting GRE scores. What really is, Mr. Sevak, the reason for this growth?
GRE is growing because of its wide acceptance. Globally, it's recognized by thousands of universities for graduate admissions. In India, over 99 programs are now accepted. So it's not only a test for allowing you to study abroad, but it's now an opportunity to study in graduate programs in the country, in India. In addition, we have not just any institutions that are accepting the GRE. We have some of the finest business schools in India today: IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Calcutta, IIM Bangalore, SP Jain, ISB are also accepting the GRE for admission to business school. So we think it's the wide acceptance of GRE both internationally, but also here in India, that's making it a very popular way to go to graduate school.
You know, is test security a concern at all? And what is ETS going to do about strengthening security even further?
Test security is critical in our industry. And for us, we believe that continuing to invest in test security is a key reason why ETS is widely recognized as a great partner for test security. Currently, we have test security investments that are happening across the board. Let me give you a couple of examples of what we're doing at ETS around test security. We've recently invested in a chief security officer to ensure that we have oversight globally, including here in India, for test security. In addition, we have invested in an Office of Test Integrity, a group that is specifically focused on detecting issues and addressing those issues. In addition, we have invested significantly in test security technology. We have, for example, gaze technology that tracks eye movements while someone's taking a test, for example, a test through TOEFL Home Edition. So those are just some examples of how we're investing in test security both today and going forward.
What about your partnership, and what does the future really look like for ETS in India?
The future for ETS is bright in India. We have an office, ETS India, based here in Delhi. And that investment is an opportunity for us to demonstrate not only to the government, but also to corporations, universities, and K-12 schools that ETS is here to stay. We're investing in new talent that we're bringing into the organization. We're investing in products and services specific to the Indian market, and we're looking to expand our partnering not only here in Delhi, but also throughout the states. So we're definitely here to stay. We have long-term visions in K-12, higher ed, and workforce development.
You know, lastly, my question has got to do with the advice that you want to offer Indian students and specifically to those who would aspire to become a global leader like you.
That's very kind, Sneha. Thank you. I would say find your passion. Really find your passion. And I know that's something that you hear from many people. Go look for your passion. You've got a passion in journalism, Sneha. I've got a passion for education. I think finding that passion early in life makes all the difference in the world. And I think that, if I may, suggest that assessments are going to be a key part of finding that. Continue to get feedback and data, whether it's through a test that you take online or through other types of feedback that you get, 360 assessments, conversations with others. That's going to be key. Continually testing, forming hypotheses of what you want to do in life, and then going out and exploring if that's really the case.
Mr. Sevak, you touched upon assessments. Give us a sense of how do you see the future of assessments and how is it going to work in the next few years to come?
So I'm really passionate about the future of assessments. I really believe that in order for us to progress in education in India and globally, we just need better assessments. In the past, when we think about an assessment, we think about an exam. We think about a stressful end of semester, end of year, summative exam, 2-3 hours or longer. The future of assessments is moving away from long form, standardized summative assessments to much more short form, micro assessments that are going to be focused on skill development. So this shift from long form to short form, from summative to more of these interim assessments is going to be critical. The other big important point is that assessments are going to increasingly be supported by artificial intelligence. In the past, you had many other ways to form questions for an assessment. Today, AI is going to be helping drive a lot of that. The other big point is that assessments used to be focusing mainly on cognitive knowledge, thinking, decision-making, logic, and increasingly they're going to be focused on non-cognitive soft skills like communication, collaboration, your ability to work in teams. And so this is
more
going to
holistic
be
in that sense.
more holistic. We like to think of it as the ABCs of assessments: affective skills, behavioral skills, and cognitive skills. And so the ability to integrate across the whole person, more of a holistic approach to assessments, your ability to come into the world. And that's super important because I think that gives more opportunity for people to really show what they can do. And those new forms of assessments that really look at different aspects of an individual is going to be really critical. I like to think about it, Sneha, like the Fitbit for skills. Those wearable technologies. More and more, we're increasingly used to those. You could check your heart rate, you can check the number of steps. Assessments are moving in that direction, where assessments are going to be allowing you in a more iterative way to see how are you progressing in skills, affective skills, which have to do with how you come off in the world, behavioral skills of how do you apply your knowledge, and then of course the cognitive skills. And so the opportunity to get more visibility on how you're progressing day to day, week to week, month to month, that's where the future of assessments is.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. That was a great conversation. The point that you made about passion was great because we spoke about it at the beginning of the show as well. I think that really is the bottom line of everything that we do pretty much. And I think that applies to all of us and just whatever we do, including ETS and including the education sector. Well, that brings us to an end of this very, very insightful conversation. Thank you again, Mr. Amit Sevak, for joining us, for taking out your time and enlightening us on this incredibly important development and spearheading the way really our students are assessed going forward, because that's just so important. This has been ETS Transforming Education in association with India Today.